Standing up is a whole new vibe. Let me just get that off the bat. Hey, it's Shay, and welcome back to Sips and Synopsis. On this episode of Sips and Synopsis, we are going to be diving into Dirty Diana by Jen and Shana. This book I got on my book of the month for November. This was actually my first month of having book of the month. Might I say I was not disappointed. Once I basically read the summary of this book, I knew that I wanted to read it. I was a little bit hesitant because it did say that it was a literary fiction, and I have never read a literary fiction before, so I was a little bit nervous getting into it. Everything I've heard about literary fictions is that it kind of doesn't really have a driven plot, and sometimes it's basically just like somebody's life, some random person's life. So I was like, okay, like why would people read literary fictions? Until I got this book. Now I'm not going to be as skeptical. Just looking at it, the cover is gorgeous. I actually nominated this my favorite cover book that I have on my shelf in the last video, which was my 2024 book awards. But just look how beautiful and sensual that is. Hold on. Something like that. This book centers around a woman named Diana. She is married to Oliver and she has a child with him. The child isn't mentioned as much in the book as I would like to, but we will get to that later. Diana is in a comfortable marriage. She loves Oliver and Oliver loves her, but it is a sexless marriage. The story basically opens with her and her friends going like antique shopping to like a market, that's what it's called. Going to like an antique shopping market, and they're all in the car talking about, oh, me and my husband haven't had sex in this many years, or me and my husband have sex this many times a month. And like, Diana, like, how about you? Like, you and your husband are getting it, right? And she's like, should I lie? She lies. She's like, oh yeah, we have sex like, you know, like twice a month, like trying to come up with an answer that is similar to the other women, well, her other friends in the car. The reality is that her and her husband have not had sex in months, and she doesn't really know what the problem is. Overall theme of this book really does touch on sexuality and Diana trying to find her sexuality. So at this market, Diana does find a beautiful photograph, and she does recognize the artist as Jasper, which is somebody that she used to know from her past. However, she is kind of secretive about this, and at this point we don't really know who Jasper is, but she's kind of like, maybe I shouldn't get it, but she ends up spending the extra money. She ends up spending the extra money to purchase this photograph, even though it is a little bit pricey. In getting this photograph, she starts being reminded of her younger days, and we do flip-flop from past to present in this book. The past being her life as a young artist and meeting Jasper and having this like beautiful love affair, and then the present to where we are with her and her husband Oliver and the struggles of their marriage. There is this one scene in the book where Oliver is trying to have sex with his wife. To Diana, it's kind of obvious that he just wants to get his rocks off, and at this point he's not really caring about her intimacy or being intimate with her.
It was at this moment that he knew he fucked up.
I did forget to mention that the beginning of this book does start with a dream, and Diana is basically dreaming that she's in this tent and she is with this man and she's about to have sex and it's so steamy, and then she wakes up and sees her husband laying next to her, and she is just so sad that she just wants to cry. I just feel like this book overall is very realistic when it comes to women and their feelings and just like situations in general, because life is not just fairy tales, or life is not just horror, or life is not just romance. So it was interesting to read a book where it felt like the characters were actual people. Like I was saying with the first time that we see Oliver and her trying to have sex, she is having these thoughts of like, hey, what is wrong with me? Well, let me just read an excerpt from the book. I exaggerate a yawn, but Oliver either doesn't notice or doesn't care. He drapes a leg across my own, heavy, and kisses my neck. This time the voice in my head doesn't joke, but only asks, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why do I make this so difficult? It's just sex. With my husband. My kind, loving, attractive husband, whom I've spent the perfect afternoon. He nuzzles deeper into me and my body stiffens. What the fuck is wrong with you? What the fuck is wrong with you? I feel like getting so vulnerable with Diana in the beginning of the book is just so, it really gives us like insight into how she's feeling and how she doesn't want to feel this way. She just doesn't have a sexual connection with her husband, and she doesn't know how she lost it or how to regain it. So that's basically the entire book. It's just her struggle with her sexuality and trying to figure out why she doesn't want to have sex with her husband, even though she does love her husband and does care for him. But basically just like, where did the spark go? So another major part of this book is that Diana is an artist, and before she got with Oliver, she would interview women about their sex lives and their fantasies, and she would end up, you know, recording the session, record them speaking about their experiences, and then she would listen to the recordings and actually interpret it and make it a piece of art and paint. That can kind of be attributed to the painting on the cover of the book. Diana goes into a messy closet in their house and she finds some of these recordings, and it kind of inspires her because she has not been doing art like she used to. She actually has a pretty mediocre, boring job that works in her husband's father's office, and while she doesn't hate her job, she is thinking about how much she wanted to be an artist when she was younger and the hunger she had for being an artist. Later in the book, one of her good friends passes away and she ends up going back to Santa Fe, which is her hometown, to attend the funeral, and that is actually where her best friend lives. She spends some time with her best friend, and she doesn't outwardly say that she's been having relationship issues, but her friend knows something is wrong, and Diana starts crying. I mean, obviously there's a funeral and all this, but her friend can tell that it's more than just the funeral. She tells her that she's been thinking about picking up art again and trying this old project that she used to do, and her friend is totally on board, and she's like, girl, like, go do it, like, I'll send people your way, what are you talking about, like, you're such a good artist, I have been waiting for my Diana to come back. At this point, we have been going like past and present in the book, and in the past, this love affair with Jasper is insane. I thought it was kind of cute. So her and her best friend in Santa Fe were helping her other friend who passed away work for his like food catering company, and they were at this photographer's event, Jasper, and that's how they met, and he's really cool, and they were flirting the entire night, and then finally they get alone together, and it's a little bit spicy, but he's like has to get dragged away because he is a photographer of the night and he has a lot of duties to do. So she thought that was going to be the end of that. Anyway, we're team Jasper in the beginning because it just seems like he has so much passion, and Diana had so much passion for him, that seeing her with Oliver, which is very like confused, upset, lacking passion, and then the jump to Jasper when she was younger and having like all of this spunk and just light within her, it's like, okay, team Jasper, yeah. However, in real time, her and Oliver are in therapy, and therapist is on Oliver's side for most of it, which is kind of annoying. Diana is just trying to figure out how to express her feelings, which is extremely hard for her to do. And Oliver is just boohoo crying about how his wife doesn't want to sleep with him. If I was Oliver, wouldn't you think like maybe there was some deeper issue, like no offense? Like I know it's not his fault because Like, he didn't do anything. It's not like he was doing something to cause this, but if I were Oliver, I would be like, are you okay? I wouldn't be like, why does my wife not want to have sex with me? Diana decides to throw herself into her old project again and interview women about their sexual experiences, and the first couple of tries is a little bit tricky because some people, like, she ends up like meeting a prostitute, and the prostitute's like, oh, like, I thought you were gonna pay me for this, and then she ends up walking out, and it's this whole thing. Like, the first couple of clients are a little bit funny, but she does end up getting her groove and getting back into things. Instead of focusing on the stuff with her marriage, she tries to throw herself into that. She notices that her husband has been going to poker a lot on a certain day, so she'll try to make her schedule around that so that she has to see her husband the least amount of time as possible, which, girl, that is not a solution, but okay. One night while her husband is at poker, she ends up coming home late from working, and she's laying in bed and it's really late. She gets a call from her husband, and then all she hears over the phone is, oh, you like that? You like that? You like when I do it like that, Oliver? And she's like, Oliver? Hello? Oliver, I can hear you, Oliver. What is going on? And all she can hear is this other woman saying some really weird shit. So basically, hold on, there's a car right outside my house that's staring dead in my window. So basically, she figures out her husband has been cheating on her in some way, or at least with another woman. She's better than me because she doesn't immediately say anything to him. She just kind of keeps it to herself for a couple of weeks and analyzes his movements, but really not too heavy. It's not like she follows him or anything, but she's kind of like, oh, how long is he gonna do this for? You know what I mean? And this ends up blowing up eventually. And she's like, oh, so who are you gonna go? Who have you been seeing, basically? That's when Diana finds out that Oliver has been going to the strip club when he says that he's going to poker. And he has made friends with this one stripper who, I guess, gives him what he likes, gives him a little lap dance, gives him a little kissy kiss, like, you know. And she's like, okay, like, let's go right now, take me to the strip club. He's like, what? And she's like, yeah, let's go, like, I want to meet her. You must like her a lot, like, let's go. And he is completely against this idea, of course, but he takes her, and the whole time in the car, he's like, we can turn around, like, please, I don't want to do this. And she's like, no, like, we're gonna go in there, we're gonna meet her, and we're gonna figure this out, because obviously, I don't know how to connect with you, and this woman's connecting with you, so maybe she can help us somehow. Which, I don't know, I feel like she was just going crazy in this moment. But they get to the strip club, and he ends up eyeing the woman. She comes over, and she's like, hey, Oliver, how are you? Like, introduce me, who is this? And he's like, oh, this is my wife. And she's like, oh, wife, like, okay, cool. She's like, oh, do you want the usual? Like, let's go to the private room. So the stripper takes both of them back to the private room, and the wife is like, you know, like, do what you usually do. Like, I'm not even here. Like, just, you know, I just want to see what she does because I'm just trying to take notes right now. Dirty Diana. Is this where she gets her name from? The stripper is, like, straddling him, doing all these things and, like, trying to kiss him and all this. And then the stripper ends up moving towards Diana and starts doing stuff to her. And the husband's like, whoa, stop. Like, I cannot do this anymore. Like, I don't want to see my wife kiss the stripper and all of this. And he, like, runs out of the strip club, and Diana runs after him, and she's like, what's going on? Like, we were doing so good. Like, he was getting aroused, the stripper was there, Diana was there. Like, they were basically tag teaming this guy at the strip club with foreplay. And then when the stripper went to try to go kiss his wife, he freaked out. Diana's like, what is going on? Like, I'm just trying to get closer to you, which this probably wasn't the best way to do so, but I mean, she's trying something, right? I eventually bring this up in therapy, and he was like, yeah, like, Diana was trying to, like, have a threesome with a fucking stripper. Like, he always has to be the victim in therapy. Like, I don't know why. Fast forward, they're at home. They get into an argument and Diana's like, we should just take a break. But she didn't really mean that. She thought if she said, let's just take a break, he would be like, no. Like, let's just work on it. But to her surprise, he agreed and said, yeah, let's take a break. And he packed a bag and left that night. Jumping back into the past, Diana and Jasper have sex all the fucking time. Like, I don't even know what to tell you. It's like they can be in public. They can be at home. They're like, oh, we haven't had sex in this corner of our house. Like, there's just passion everywhere with this man. He is an artist. She's an artist. And he knows how to rizz the artist up, let me just tell you. When they first met that one time, Jasper and her weren't able to really, you know, hang out like that. So then he ended up going to her job later and recruiting her to be an assistant for one of his photography clients. And that's when they got together, and ever since then they like took a little trip and ended up extending it and ended up staying together for like a month or so, just like the two of them, and ended up adopting like a little dog. So fast forward from there, this is like a little bit farther into their relationship, and they are back home in Santa Fe. And Jasper's like, yeah, like we should totally like just imagine us like abroad and doing this, like you quit your job, you know, like we can sell all of our stuff and just go, right? And she was like, I don't know. And he's like, come on, like think about it, like you can do it. Never trust a man. Never trust a man. Don't trust him. Even her boss said don't trust him. My window is like open and everyone keeps staring at me as I walk past. It's a little bit scary. I don't know how people vlog in public. Couldn't be me. But anyway, she tells her boss that she is going to be leaving and quitting her job. She ends up packing all her shit. She sells some of her shit. She cancels her lease and she's like, all right, I'm gonna do it, right? Jasper comes over to her apartment. He's like, where's all of your stuff? And she tells him, you said that we're gonna leave, like we're gonna start a new life. I'm at your house all the time anyway, so I'm starting to, you know, get rid of my stuff so we can leave for our trip. And he's like, oh, Diana, you know what, let me pull up the excerpt. Because I was trying to figure out this whole time, her and Jasper have been great in the past. What is gonna happen to lead to their breakup? Because obviously her and Oliver are together, so I'm like, what is gonna happen? Okay, so I'm gonna read the excerpt of him talking to her about leaving, and then I'm gonna go to the excerpt of him being like, why the fuck did you just do all of that? Like, what are you talking about? I'm thinking that we should get out of here for a while, not just a vacation. A friend of mine has a place in Taos, and he's never there, and he's been telling me I should go and stay as long as I want. So let's both go. We can focus on our work. When Taos gets stale, we'll think about where we want to go next. Maybe Europe? Berlin? You'd love Berlin. I'm listening to him and trying to digest what he's saying. I'm excited and surprised and frightened all at once. I don't know how to answer. What do you think? You want to just leave Santa Fe? I'd have to quit my jobs. So, you don't care about them? Not really. Then, at this point, she is coming out with a book of her paintings, and she says, the book money just isn't much. Diana, watching you put this book together, all of your excitement, it's like a reminder of why I like doing any of this. And we should, any of this, and we should inspire each other. I can read, I promise. I'm a star, please. Please, I'm a star! We should inspire each other if we don't keep moving forward. We die? If we sit too long, we'll disappear? Is that why he never sleeps? I don't want a slow death, he says. Let's do it, I say. Let's go to Taos. He takes my face in his hands and looks into my eyes and then kisses me deeply. I lead him inside to the bed, and by the time I've slipped off my work boots and slid in next to him, Jasper is already asleep. This is the most peaceful I've seen him in weeks. Maybe Taos is what we need. Maybe we can't leave soon enough. So, after begging her to move, then he's surprised when she starts putting the plan in motion. Okay, and this is the part where Jasper breaks her heart, and in turn my heart, okay? So, Jasper arrives around 10 o'clock Saturday evening. Wow, he says, you're looking around my empty apartment. Going minimal? Going minimal, bitch!
Bitch, you better be joking.
You're looking at a woman with no earthly possessions. I'm sitting on the floor with a beer and a box of crackers I'm calling dinner. Pippi curls in my lap and waits for her ears to be scratched. I expected something like a round of applause or at least an admiring whistle, but Jasper looks serious. What do you mean? I donated it all. I gave my landlord notice. He made me pay for this month, but it's okay. Jasper folds his hands and rests them on the top of his head. You didn't tell Justine, did you? I refuse to acknowledge the look of total panic in Jasper's eyes. Of course I told Justine, her boss. I can't just disappear on her. Oh, Diana. Dead weighted fear creeps into my belly, the terrible sense that he switched channels on me. I had to tell Justine we're moving to Taos, remember? We didn't solidify anything. Had no idea you would act this quickly. Did you quit your catering job too? I shut down in that moment. My face goes pale. I can feel it. My world is suddenly underwater. There was no Taos. No, of course there was. No, I'd love to go to Taos with you someday. So let's go. Jasper sits on the floor beside me. My manager called. He got an offer for me from the Hayworth in London. They want to show my work. You know, he always said my stuff wouldn't travel, and now they're calling. I can't say no. You're going to London? Jasper follows me into my empty kitchen where I dump the rest of my beer down the sink. Yeah. So basically I was like, what do you mean? We didn't solidify anything. Like, I was just fucking entertaining you and entertaining the idea of moving. Not him being like, he folds his hands on top of his head and says, oh, Diana. Oh, Diana! Dirty no. Oh. But anyway, that's how her and Jasper end. Her husband, on the other hand, let's jump back into the future. Her husband ends up moving out for taking a break. She believes that he's probably staying in some motels and stuff, but a little birdie tells him that he has actually been staying in a nice-ass apartment. Diana ends up going to the apartment just to speak with him, and she realizes a character that I did not mention to you guys. Oopsie.
I'm not a boxer. I'm not a fighter. I've never claimed to be a fighter.
There's this lady who has a child that goes to her daughter's school who ended up getting divorced because she cheated on him, because she just didn't have a connection with him anymore, yada yada yada. She ends up letting her stay at her house for a few days and get on her feet, and Diana and her kind of hit it off a bit. She ends up finding her at her husband's new place when she goes to visit him, and she storms out and she's like, what the fuck is this? Like, I thought you were my friend, this and that. I don't really know if they did anything. I mean, it's kind of implied that they didn't do anything, that they just go on runs together, but she was in the shower, so I would be suspicious too. She just feels like there's no hope after that. Time passes. Her friend from Santa Fe, her best friend, is like, hey, like, I want you to meet with this guy for this opportunity, this business opportunity or whatever. She's like, okay, whatever, cool. Like, does tomorrow at this time work for us to, like, grab a coffee or something? She's like, sure. Next day, she starts getting a message from her husband, and it's a little bit flirty, and Diana kind of reciprocates, and a little spark is there in their messages back and forth to each other. And he's like, you know, dinner tonight? And she's like, okay, like, yeah, I could do dinner tonight. She's like, I want to fix this. This is my husband. I don't want to do this to my daughter. This is what she's been wanting the whole story. So now that she's feeling a little bit of hope towards her relationship, I'm like, okay, like, we are both adults. Let's just get dinner together and try to reconcile, because obviously we do love each other. She goes to this coffee meeting that her friend set up, and who walks in but Jasper. Jasper from the past that left her in Santa Fe long ago. And that's how the book ends, on a cliffhanger. Apparently this is the first in a 3-part installment. I have pre-ordered the second book on Amazon, and I'm a little bit mad because they don't have a hardcover option. They only have a softcover option, and it's like, this is a hardcover. I would like my series to be, it better be the same height. If it's a softcover, it better be the same height because I want my books to match. But anyway, I like how it left on a cliffhanger. But now knowing that there are going to be 2 more books, I'm kind of like, oof, I hope the next books are good because this book was very, very good. I did rate it a 4 stars. Only reason I didn't rate it a 5 stars is because I wasn't like, if to rate it a 5 stars, I have to be like, oh my god, like this book changed my life. Like, I don't think this book changed my life, but I love this book. It was great. I would recommend this to many women, any woman, honestly. I really enjoyed it. I am a bit excited to read the next book just to kind of see what the dynamic is with her and Jasper and her husband, and I feel like it's going to come down to like, who is she going to choose? The only thing, like I said earlier about this book, is that I feel like it doesn't touch on her daughter much in the story, and that is the only unrealistic part of it, because if you are going through something like that with your husband, it is going to affect your daughter. But anyway, this was Dirty Diana. I absolutely loved it. I thought the concept of her listening to these women's like stories and fantasies and creating art out of it was a very original idea, and I liked it a lot. And that's what really hooked me into the book. And let me just say, not to be a creep, but the stories and fantasies did not disappoint. So, but it did feel like art. It didn't feel like having a sexual scene in the book just for the sake of having a sexual scene. It did feel like meaningful. It definitely felt like women wrote this book, which I loved. So thank you for tuning in to Sips and Synopsis with me. I will see you next time. Bye!